did ask my pediatrician if there was something wrong with me. It's so difficult to do anything with my hands, and that's a problem, you know? This kind of affects my life. I'm going through a sensory nightmare right now, and I thought I would just kind of document this. I've had sensory issues my entire life, and if you don't know, sensory processing disorder isn't even something that can be diagnosed on its own. It has to be diagnosed with something like ADHD or autism. It's not its own diagnosis. So the fact that I have this and have had this my entire life and was never scanned for anything is just insane, because I definitely needed some help growing up, and I still do, and I'm trying to get evaluated, but my insurance said that it's not medically necessary, so they're not going to cover it. So that's on pause for now, but let me just kind of explain my sensory issues while I get ready for bed. So this is all starting because I have to have nails that cover like the tips of my fingers. Like they have to be at least that long, because that padding on top of your finger below like the white nail marking, you know, it is so sensitive and in such a negative way. Like the thing about this disorder is you experience bad things as extremely bad feeling, that your body like has these insane reactions. Like for me, my gag reflex is triggered a lot and I get goosebumps all over my body, and I just feel really gross. And on the opposite end, it also has like really positive feeling things that like you might end up indulging too much in. Like for me, I would overeat because it's such a great sensory experience for me. Like I love food, I love different flavors, I like experimenting with new foods and new flavors and whatnot. And also the textures, I love textures. I mean, I can't really like explain it too much. So that's an example of one. Also like certain scents I'm really addicted to. Like my mom has this perfume, and every time I go over to my parents' house, I immediately go into the bathroom and put this perfume on me, and just the smell of it, it's like I'm huffing it as long as it lasts on me. And so there's these two sides of the spectrum that are completely different and create different experiences, and I struggled a lot with these. Like I have sensory issues with my hands. Like for instance, my nail just came off too short, like below what I call the quick. I mean, it's like the human equivalent of a quick, I think, but I don't know if you'll be able to see. I could put my macro lens on, but I don't know. That little point at the very top, that's my skin, and it is so sensitive. As soon as my nail broke off, just goosebumps just flooded my body, and I started like feeling my throat close, and I'm not even getting ready for bed. Hold up. And like, okay, so the sensitivity wears down after like 2 or 3 days, but in that time period, it's so difficult to do anything with my hands, and that's a problem, you know? This kind of affects my life. I don't want to touch anything, and when I do touch things, it has to be compromised and changed to accommodate this sensory issue. Like for instance, I'm about to floss my teeth. I don't want my thumb anywhere near my mouth where it could accidentally brush up against it. So I'm gonna have to hold my floss in a weird way, like pulling up my pants. I contorted my arms to try to pull my pants up in a way where my thumb would not brush my leg or brush anything, just not be in the way of any contact with something. And my other thumbnail is like cracked halfway through, and it's like definitely below or at like the same level as this other thumb that's causing me all these issues. So I'm kind of like doctoring this thumb, trying to make sure that the nail doesn't fall off too soon, that I can kind of grow it out a little bit more. That never happens. It always ends up falling off before I would like. But like I'm living in this kind of anxiety state trying to keep this nail on. Another thing that's like a physical sensory issue is my need for lotion. Like my hands, I cannot stand the feeling of them being dry. So as soon as I've washed them, if there was any kind of water or any liquid on my hands, I immediately have to put lotion on before they dry out completely. Like, so I'll towel dry and then immediately just put lotion on. I've tried letting myself go without lotion. Like, I obviously can't put lotion on when I'm making food. So I think actually that's kind of part of the reason why I don't like cooking, is sensory issues. But yeah, so I have to go these periods where I'm handling food, like just having washed my hands to prepare the food and not being able to put on lotion right away. My hands start to dry out and I just hate that feeling. Like, again, it just triggers goosebumps and my gag reflex. And same with my hair. My hair is a texture that if I'm feeling like extra sensitive on a day, I just don't like the feeling of my natural hair. And like cotton too, just like those rougher textures really bother me. And I usually, like, if I have to fold laundry and I'm gonna be handling towels or just like cotton things, I have to like put on so much lotion beforehand just to make sure I can make it through touching all those things without like being overstimulated. And yeah, I think that's another reason. As a kid, I hated doing laundry so much. I mean, other than it's boring. I mean, I like doing it now, so long as I have enough lotion. Like, I've figured out how to accommodate myself in that situation. So yeah, like when a big sensory thing happens, like something like this, where it's a sensory issue for at least a couple days, I can get really overstimulated and just kind of on edge, and it like affects my mood. I feel like I should just title this "Why It's Medically Necessary for Me to Be Evaluated." Maybe I'll send it to my insurance company. But I was gonna go somewhere with that. I don't even remember what I said. Yeah, another thing that I'm just connecting the dots with, I have something called scotopic sensitivity, which I mentioned in another video I'll put up here. But basically that's a light sensitivity disorder, and they discovered this in me when I was in 4th grade, I believe. So that's something that really affects my life because it has to do with reading, it has to do with why I was feeling so fatigued all the time. My eyes, oh my gosh, if anyone could see what my eyes see when I'm in fluorescent lights, it's like, I can't even explain it. If I'm looking at a person, it's like the whole background becomes washed out and they become, oh, it sounds so crazy. I don't even know how to explain it. It's so wild, but it's like my eyes become lazy and they stop seeing the regular and clear picture. But that is also something that they say a lot of people with autism and or ADHD have. So again, something I should have been evaluated for. Another thing, I found out visual snow is not normal. Like, you all see completely crisp. I see like TV static where it's like kind of glimmery little dots everywhere. And I thought everyone saw that up until a few years ago. And like, especially like if I'm staring at a white wall in fluorescent lighting, even in dim lighting. No, okay, let me finish my thought. On like a white wall, I can really see it. It's like red, green, blue, and it's just all flickering, teeny tiny little pixels, kind of. But also in the dark, when it's completely pitch black and I can't see anything, they're kind of like bright lights, but they're so tiny and they're like really tiny pixels, little grainy things. This might also, I'll have to look into that. I believe it is linked to neurodivergencies. I mean, it is neurodivergency. I just touched it. Yeah, so after that happens, I like to put pressure on it and like kind of bring the blood there and make it feel like it's, I don't know. It's so strange. Like when I lose a nail, it almost feels more breezy, more drafty. So I kind of put the pressure there and it warms it up a bit. It sounds so weird. You know, these things were all normal to me until I started thinking, are other people not experiencing things like this? Because my sister had sensory issues, so it was like me and her, and we understood these things, and like we had similar sensory issues. Like as far as texture goes, for sure, where we just had a strong aversion to certain textures and whatnot, and would have a similar bodily reaction to them. But yeah, I could go on and on about this for a long time, and I probably will touch on it more, or just like show you a day in my life with these sensory issues, what that looks like. My mom did ask my pediatrician if there was something wrong with me. It was because I was scared of things like the fire hydrant. When we were on walks, I would go diddy, diddy, diddy. And the wood marking, like the darker part, like the little mole thingy on my crib would scare me and like make me cry. Yeah, so I had like some sensitivities around like physical objects and things like that. And the doctor was like, well, if it's not affecting her life, there's no reason to be concerned. But as you can see, I've listed off some reasons why it does affect my life, how it does affect my life. People need to start doing more research on how these neurodivergent things present in females, people assigned female at birth, people of color. Yeah, because I really needed help. I think I still do need help, but I've come up with so many more ways of managing. I've like really put time into doing that because things got a little scary at one point. Postpartum depression kind of shook things up a little bit. But yeah, that's also why my hair is a mess, because I can't touch my hair right now. It would definitely touch my quick thing. And like these fingers too, they just went through this and they're a little bit grown out and they're not as sensitive anymore. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. I hope it was insightful. If you liked, please like and subscribe and make sure your bell notifications are turned on. Yeah, thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.